good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly live stream. I want to greet everyone. Thank you, Megan, Marianne, and Justin for joining me today. We have a super exciting episode today around Teams meetings. I'm running them effectively. We're a big fan of Teams. We use it a lot internally, and many of our customers use it. It's really taken hold, especially with the work from anywhere kind of events that's happening right now. So it's really great. And we think we want to put together a great way for everyone to use it most effectively. And we know just who we are. I'm George Adams. We're from Valley Technology. We're a managed service provider in New York. We work with a lot of creative companies and a lot of interesting folks. So we want to get them to be communicating and interacting. So before we dive into our live stream on Teams, I want to hand over to Megan for her quick tips.
Thank you, George. So I have a really, really simple, quick tip, but I think it's useful given the time of year and given that we're approaching, I think, the year anniversary of shutdown measures taking place. We've passed the year mark of when we heard about the coronavirus. And I saw an article recently that said there's actually kind of a collective burnout happening. A lot of people are hitting a wall. I think it's winter. It is winter. I don't think it, but the holidays sort of helped with morale a little bit. It made things feel more meaningful. And then, January, February comes and here we are, we're still in it. And honestly, our emotional resources are probably a little exhausted. I know mine are. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I just saw an article that was like, feeling burnout, you're not the only one. And that got me thinking about ways to be more intentional, ways to make your life feel a little more joyful right now, because we all need to practice that a little more. And while there's a lot of things you can do on your off time to enhance that, I was thinking about, these remote workspaces that we've come to inhabit now. We don't get to see our coworkers. What are little ways you can just show yourself that you care about yourself while you're working, while you're trying to be productive and motivated? So very little things, very nurturing things for me. I went and I bought myself flowers the other day, and I need to get new ones. But this helps, this makes me feel cheerful, and having green things in your space actually is proven to lower stress levels. And I wanted to ask you guys, Justin, Marianne, George, what are little things you do to sort of make your workspace more cheerful or nurturing?
So, I like to have like little things to fidget with is one thing. And I'm a constant fidgeter. So, even just things like, little garbage bits I'll keep on the desk and play with. But I also have a little, you can't see the green, but it's a carpal tunnel exerciser, and that's fun you spin it up and you kind of work your wrist with it. And I'll do that, like if I'm thinking about something. And one sort of interesting one. So my workspace in the apartment I'm in, we don't really have, it's a 1-bedroom apartment. So my workspace is in the corner of the bedroom. And one of the ways I help differentiate work time from sleep time or not work time in the bedroom is I have hue light bulbs, and they're not the full color ones, they're just the shades of white. So when I'm working, I have them set to like a blue office-y color, and when I'm not, it goes to a more yellow warm home color, and it's almost like a subconscious cue of like, this is work time, this is not work time anymore, because the lighting completely changes. So
I really like that. Yeah,
that's a good suggestion.
Really smart. Yeah. George, I know you showed us very nurturing thing.
This is my little toy that I sit and play with, 2 penguins on like a kind of toy, and I sit and play with it all day and shake it up, and they go on adventures. And this was a gift from my youngest daughter. She saw me playing with it. We went to the Bronx Zoo for their Christmas light show, and she saw me kind of putzing with it in this gift shop, and so she kind of sneakily bought it and wrapped it up for Christmas. So it's cool. It sits at my desk and I play with it. So it's fun.
I love adorable. That. Yeah. Also, the fact your daughter gave it to you just from noticing that you liked it, that's also such a sweet reminder. And
cool.
Marianne, you have Any?
Well, you can kind of see I decorated my space with a lot of stuff that I like. You can actually, there's plants, like you said, the greenery helps. Even if it's just like in my mind, I feel like I can breathe better. But light is a huge thing for me. And I know, Megan, you and I discussed like we love having natural lighting, but I read an article where if you can avoid having it directly face on because we're getting so much light at us, from all the screens. I mean, we joke, we go from our work screen to our big screen to watch TV to our little screen on our phones. Like anything you can do to reduce that, like make it a little kinder to yourself. I even bought like some of those blue light filter glasses to make myself look very cute, but also like it helps filter that stuff in if I'm wearing my contacts instead of my regular glasses.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I love all of these, and I think it's just like I said, all this seems simple, but I think having these small things in your life, showing yourself that you care about your own mental health
Yeah.
right now is so important. And I see you guys practicing that in these ways. And light is a big one. Light is a very big one.
Yeah.
And I think just everyone, like sometimes my partner will walk in and be like, all the lights are off, and I'm in a bad mood. I'm like, well, that's probably why. And then I turn that's simpler. So yeah, thank you guys for helping with that. And just, I think a big thing to say is remember that we're all in this together as always, but you're not alone. This is a struggle for everyone, and that every small gesture you can make for yourself and others helps in this pandemic. So that's my quick tip for today.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. It's great. And it's all cumulative. These 1,000 cuts kind of make you miserable or feel good at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, our meeting today, our topic today is going through effective meetings. And sometimes I think maybe this could also be a source of stress. Like you're doing constant meetings, more meetings than you ever did. I feel like I talk all day.
Yeah.
And it's hard and it's complicated. And so anyway, I'm going to hand a lot of this over to Marianne, because Marianne spends the bulk of her time training folks on this, making KB articles, doing some
I'm
great
using
it.
I mean, when I'm doing trainings that aren't related to Teams, I'm using Teams.
So let's get started, Marianne. Kick us off.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, obviously, like I think a lot of people have really learned like the value of having these video conferencing, and that it is starting to replace a lot of in-person meetings, but we're still hitting that block of, do I have too many meetings in a day? Are these meetings productive? Or that like that joke online, like this meeting could have been an email. Like we want to make sure that these meetings are effective, and Microsoft Teams especially has a lot of great features that can emphasize this. But first, I just want to talk about what can make a meeting ineffective and sort of the pitfalls that people can get into. And some of it is exactly like you said. People, if they're feeling too inundated with meetings, if they're spending too much time in them, both individually and the number of meetings they have, they're going to be, a little bit less effective. People aren't going to enjoy them. It's going to have effects on your staff, satisfaction. So one thing that can kind of help is, we'll talk about some tips, but if you don't have an agenda, I think a lot of people complain about meetings meandering, or what's the purpose of this, or even it's a good idea to make sure you send that agenda beforehand. There's a lot of prep work you want to do for meetings, because then people can understand, what the purpose of this meeting is and go into it understanding and having, a set goal. And that also helps even just for yourself. While you're making the agenda, you can really determine who it's important to come to this meeting. I think a lot of us are like, well, anyone who wants to come, let's make sure that they can share their voices, but you don't want to waste people's time. And you also don't want extra voices in there that are going to derail the meeting. So while you're doing that prep work, think about who really needs to be there and, choose that accordingly. If there are people who have it optional, be very clear that they can be optional. I know that there's like, when you're making a Teams meeting invite, you can put it in the optional section, but I think a lot of people don't really see like, oh, I'm optional here. You can, just give them a shout out, message them on Teams and let them know like, hey, I put you just for awareness. You don't have to come, this is just in general, but I can send you the notes after. Which is another point. Make sure you have notes, because that will help the meeting not just be a meeting, but have it actually take things someplace. So yeah, so speaking of, I had a statistic about having an agenda that it can decrease the amount of meeting time by 80%, which is insane, but also super realistic. I am a great let's go off topic person, and then I'm like, oh no, let's get us back on topic. I mean, I love talking with my teammates, and it's good if you do want to do that to have a set time for that. But meetings should be productive. And then I also read a scary statistic that was like the cost of unproductive meetings. It can be more than $37 billion per year. It can be wasted on meetings, in unproductive meetings, which is insane. And again, totally believable because some meetings are just,
Well, yeah, when you leave, they're more confused than when you arrive.
yeah.
I was like, what do we do here? It's kind of
Yes.
that office spacey kind of, vibe.
Absolutely.
We do that too when we have a meeting and it's got a bunch of people in it, especially when it's a lot of engineers in it who are in a meeting instead of working on projects, and then we'll go, yeah, that was an expensive meeting, wasn't it? We kind of,
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
For
Yeah.
sure. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways. So I want to move into like how teams can help that.
Sure.
When you do make a team meeting and you make that agenda beforehand, you can just put that in the invite. But if you want to, if let's say you're doing it through a team, if you select a channel, you can always have your agendas saved in the files section so people can refer back to them. They also have the notes feature, which is excellent. You can assign someone to take notes during the meeting, and those notes will be applicable or readable afterwards. So, if someone can't attend, or if someone doesn't need to attend, but they do just need the information after,
Right.
you've got those meeting notes available.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And I know we use it quite extensively internally for those notes and the agendas. And I know, Megan and I do a lot of calls together, so we end up doing, and unfortunately we all sort of have our own different systems, and that can be dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think that should be a pre-agreed upon solution. All right, we're going to put all the meeting notes here. And follow it, because I know we can I said each person has their own work style, and you have to accommodate to some point, but it's open. You don't want to be like, where is that located? Like, where should I look?
Yeah, I think the key there is the afterwards, the recap, where that goes, because when you said it, everybody takes notes in a different way, everybody likes different things, and even with teams sometimes, especially if it's a big complicated meeting, we'll just record the meeting and then use the transcript feature to copy and paste important things, and then afterwards send that out and here's the recap, here's the link to the recording for anyone that wants to go back to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think what's good about Teams, and obviously other platforms do this, is that there is you can have a permanent place where these notes are that can be referred back to, but it also saves a lot. For example, I mean, you said recording, you'll just have that available. You can get the transcript, but any chats that are going on in the, the type chat while the meeting's going is still going to exist in your Teams. Actually, it's under the direct message chat section. So I've been able to refer back to that as well. Someone just typed in, we were discussing something and someone sent the link, and then I go, wait, where can I find that? Oh, it's just in my chat. It still exists after the meeting. If it's important, you should copy and paste it to a permanent location, but it's nice that it tracks, which is great.
And I also think something that at least I use, and this is going back to before the meeting starts, is using the scheduling assistant to effectively plan schedule the meeting. The scheduling assistant in Outlook or in Teams is great. It'll show you everybody that you add in. It'll show you their free busy time so that you can find a window where everybody is available. Because I mean, internally, I have my calendar is open for everybody at Valiant to look at, to schedule things. And when I have work that I need to do, I block the time out on my calendar. And so I just tell everybody, yeah, if you need me in a meeting, just find open space on my calendar and send an invite. If it's open, that means I'm available for it. And that, makes it easy to not having to do that back and forth. When do you want to meet? Oh, can we do this? And it's like, no, it's just look at
Yeah.
my calendar. There it is.
Yeah, that's a terrible like email thread going back and
Yeah.
forth, which also wastes time for meetings. Is the meeting to plan the meeting,
Yeah.
or the email to plan the meeting, that whatever.
And
But yeah, scheduling system's a great one. If you
there's
haven't
also,
used it before, just go to we have on our knowledge base, we have like step-by-step instructions, and you can do it through the web browser or just Outlook, which is
great.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and some cool tools out there as well to add on for
Yeah.
outside your organization. One of these that I found is I think really important is the idea of a face-to-face meeting or video versus the call-in. And it's a subject to some debate, I find, in various conversations with different people. And yeah, what do you find, Marianne, when you do the training on Teams?
Yeah. Well, with meetings, and I give the training, so even if it really is a wholly I'm talking meeting, there's still ways to encourage participation. Having videos on is actually a huge thing. I mean, we talked about having fidget things, but I can tell you, even in in-person trainings, there are sometimes people checking their email doing work and they aren't absorbing the information. And there's some statistics that say if you have a conference meeting virtually, if you don't have the camera on, excuse me, people surveyed said that 57% of people multitask during meetings if it's just a call, but if you have the camera on, it's only 4% of people, and that's a
Right.
huge difference. And it's all about engagement.
Right.
I also go ahead.
I say maybe that's part of the why meetings meander and go on for so long, because people are not paying attention. All of a sudden, like, oh wait, I have to talk now. And,
Right.
and we've all been in those kind of calls where it's like,
Yeah.
oh man. So it's like having that video on really changes the connection.
Yeah, there's something about. I mean, it's nothing replaces the face-to-face in-person meeting, but there's still something about being able to see somebody's facial expression, body language, somewhat.
Mhm.
That helps. I know we had an internal meeting last week, and somehow through video, George and I managed to, look at each other and give each other a look, because we picked up on just like a internal private joke, but thing that not worth repeating. But the point is just that it for a brief moment it felt like we were in the same room together, and
Right.
it's been literally over a year since I've seen George in person. So.
I know it's like a very strange locked eyes, but through the ether.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It worked, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
I also think that George and I will speak to like prospects and clients and stuff, and it's actually so much better when it's a video, because if they laugh at or if they smile about something we said, but maybe they didn't laugh on a phone, it's kind of like this weird gap of silence. But if we can see them smile, we can see them like they seem to be liking us. That's
right. Well, yeah.
I mean, not even for that. When I give trainings, I tell a lot of jokes, a lot of bad jokes. But I'll tell you, the other day, someone left their camera on. Most of the time they don't, which is usually fine because I'm just the one talking. And I could see her laugh at my jokes. And I was like, this is my favorite user at any client ever. This is the best.
Right.
But yeah, so if you can leave your camera on, it's very nice for me to see you laugh at my terrible jokes. But actually, to encourage participation, I am going to bring it back to Teams. They have a lot of good features for that. So not everyone is going to recognize when someone is about to talk, even if they have the cameras on. So like a lot of video conferencing, Teams does have a hand raising feature, and it'll just bring up that little hand symbol, so whoever's really like facilitating the meeting can say, oh, and yeah, Megan, you have a question. But it also isn't as interruptive necessarily as someone going, hang on a second, because it gives the person who's speaking the power to decide like, oh, this is a good time for that interruption. So definitely use that. Make sure you keep an eye on that. I usually keep my participants thing up so it can see it better, but it does pop up at the bottom. And there's also breakout rooms is sort of a newer Teams feature. I know that like some other like Zoom had that before, but I really like that because if you do have a big meeting going on, sometimes people can get lost, or you need to have those little sections that you wouldn't have had before, and breakout rooms really help that. Even when I'm giving trainings, I think I mentioned this before, but the breakout room can help. If one person's having a one-person problem that doesn't necessarily help the rest of the group, they can break off with like a tech that's on the call, and they can fix their problem. Or even if you're in a big meeting, let's say you're doing brainstorming, you can assign out certain things for people to discuss, put them in breakout rooms, and come back together. So it's a little bit more efficient, and people aren't sitting through the part of the meeting that they don't need to be in. So that's a really cool feature that I very much like. So.
That's very cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. So, I mean, beyond and this is all great stuff, the hand raising, the breakout rooms, so many great features. Well, what is beyond Teams? What other products would you say, or what else? We just want to start with Teams, but what else would you recommend? What other things should you utilize?
Yeah, so I mean, some universal things are a lot of virtual backgrounds. So I mean, I like all the personality of the shows, but it can be distracting. So a lot of things. A lot of platforms will allow you to either blur your background or use a virtual background. Sometimes it's better if you use a green screen, which just like which one of them has the real Valiant posters and which one of them does not.
Mine has a reflection, so that's as real as it gets.
Yes. But you do obviously have to keep in mind that it should still be professional. One of the ways you can do that is most of these will have a free version. So if you are using it for non-work stuff, make yourself a second account. You should have a separate account for fun and a separate account for work. And that helps for a couple of reasons. For one thing, you can see I put up my name as Marianne Regina. A lot of my friends know me as Reggie. So if I type my name as Reggie, and then I go to a meeting with a client, it's going to be like, what is happening here?
Reggie?
Yeah, but honestly, I have some like friends of friends who wouldn't know who I am if I type my name as Marianne, because we're not that close. So, so that's one thing. Is like you can choose your display name for whatever you want, and then your backgrounds, and then also if you do end up having fun things like a filter. Yes, or if you have a filter going on, you won't accidentally be stuck in that filter for a work meeting. The very recent, and I'm glad Justin put this link in here, the lawyer Zoom cat that has been like a viral video. It was a like litigation meeting done by Zoom, and the guy was stuck with a cat filter on, and he's just like, I don't know how to change it, and he's supposed to be very lawyerly, and it's really funny, the juxtaposition of like the lawyer legalese and
Lawyer
the
cat.
I'm not a cat.
I feel like that should be a new Adult Swim cartoon, Lawyer Cat.
Lawyer cat. That's not a character from BoJack. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So that's one of the things that's a great idea is to keep them separate. Also, just some general best practices is if you're not talking, mute your mic. It's in general, you can't always control the background noises that are happening, or even if you needed to clear your throat or anything. It's just nice if you really are just not participating at the time, you're really taking the information in, you can mute your mic. Also, position yourself with good lighting and angles. There was a survey taken when I was doing the research on this that a lot of the worst like visual infraction that's very distracting is to have too close of a camera. And I'll tell you, I also don't like the too much up. I don't want to see up your nose. So like if someone really is like, okay, so this meeting, it's a very distracting, and even me, I'm like, I don't want to look that close at my own face.
Yeah, or I always find the one with this. If people are on cell phones, they're in that weird down angle thing, and it's like it's disorienting, and like and they're moving around with it, and they're walking around the house, and it's like you're like, I'm gonna throw up,
Yeah,
because it's like spinning around. So be a little kind of mindful of it.
So yeah, and basic etiquette stuff. Don't be chewing gum. Eating is mostly a no-no. If you schedule a lunch meeting, but you can establish that. But even so, definitely mute your mic when you're chewing. But that's some of the things that people have found annoying. But just some basic, make sure people can see you, which we talked about plenty of times. And then lastly, make sure you sign in early to meetings. It's the same thing as when you showed up to meetings. If you're on time, you're late. And especially because technology isn't perfect. So maybe you might need to troubleshoot things. Maybe you're stuck as a cat, or your computer isn't connecting to the right audio, so you can't hear yourself. Or even maybe your platform is updating. I remember, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, all of these platforms were catching up and adding features. So half the time when you would turn it on, it'd be like, I have to run an update, and then you'd be a minute late to your meeting.
Right.
So, make sure you sign in a little bit beforehand, do the camera check, do the mic check, just so you can get that meeting started sooner. It's really a bummer when someone shows up to a meeting and the meeting doesn't start for 8 minutes because everyone's fixing things or arriving late, or, oh no, I needed to do an update. So it's just common courtesy stuff.
Exactly.
And I think you left out the most important rule, which is if your dog or cat or other pet interrupts your meeting, you have to introduce them. Those are the rules.
Yes.
My cat has been yelling at me this whole time. Should I introduce?
Yeah.
Sure.
I got some treats to try and.
Me too. We gotta.
Let's see.
Come
Let's see if it works. Eggy boy. No, he's the.
Oh, I got
I've
this.
wanted to get out since we started. So.
Fast
Hey.
asleep. He doesn't want.
Oh,
He doesn't want to join.
very cute.
Okay.
So happy.
Or you should invite.
I don't have any pets, so it's like probably children. Hey, can we?
I would say if you're you have to introduce them.
Yeah, also if your children walk past, you probably should introduce them as well. It's one of those things. We'll be talking later about some of the ways to not have interruptions in a future blog post or
Yeah.
space, but stay tuned on that. But yeah, totally great. And because now this makes it more human. Going back to Megan's quick tips earlier about your space, it matters. Like we know you're home. We know everyone's home. We know where everyone's working. It's not weird that your kids are there, or your dog is there, or your cat's there, or it just is. Obviously, it's not the same as an office. And I think the sooner we kind of like acknowledge and accept that and make it part of our interactions, it'd be better for everyone. Personally,
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Awesome. So this is so much information. It's so much stuff. It's like this is like a thing. Please, check out Marianne's content she's written. It's all online. You can see it on our knowledge base. Catch it up on our from the live streams. There's just a ton of it. If you have questions, feel free to shoot us. If you want to know, I had this weird Teams problem. How do you do it? Just put it right in our knowledge base. We'll answer it. Submit it to our question. We'll either do it on a live stream or direct contact you. See best we can to answer it. And please just check us out at thevaliantway.com. We're here. We're based in New York, but we work anywhere in North America. Yeah. And we're on social: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube as well. And we have a really exciting, kind of interesting one that's caused. It's a change from our kind of same within our modern workspace or arena about lightweight project management with some tools that are either free or included in different services. So we really want to is to build a way that you can share and delegate work, keep track of things going on in simple ways without building some massive kind of apparatus solution, PMP. A lot of times you don't need all that. A lot of times just make it lightweight, simple, and integrated. So with that, I got nothing else for today, and I really hope everyone stays safe, and talk to you all soon. Marianne, thanks a lot. Great job today. Megan as well. Justin, thank you. So have a great day. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye now.
Everyone.